panelists please introduce yourself shortly, because we're running out of time, and then also address a first statement to the question. Yeah, to the question. What is your suggestion, your recommendation on how establish the importance for the strategic potential of social as an enabler for something? Yeah, there.
I've got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm David Terrar. My friend Janet Parkinson up there and Alan Patrick, who's playing with some Lego somewhere else, started a company called the Agile Elephant a few weeks ago, which is a social business consultancy and an event that we hope to put on quite almost as well as this one, and some meetups. And our thing is all about putting business process at the heart of social, and that maps in perfectly to Emanuela's kind of survey report there. And for me, the key. I mean, I'm like Emanuela, depressed. I think back in 2006, I was at the Office 2.0 show in San Francisco. I was in Varese in 2007 at Emanuel's Open Knowledge show. And if you told me back then that we would only be this far forward, I would have been deeply depressed. And I think it actually, the big thing for me is to treat these implementations like any big change in a company. I come from a boring background of implementing ERP and CRM and finance systems in companies, and you have to treat this like that kind of project. That's why getting commitment from top management is the thing that works, rather than it being a bottom-up grassroots kind of implementation. So it's all of the old messages that we know from implementing change management and big systems in organizations that are important. And what it comes down to more than anything is to actually translate this into real value to the bottom line, so the execs in the C-suite can actually see that it's going to I'm going to have 3 times less accidents. I'm going to be able to do more with less. That kind of thing.
It is not an implementation.
Well, okay. We can argue about stuff. That's good.
Okay. So my turn. My name is Liew Suarez. I used to work for IBM. I worked there for around 17 years. I quit about a week and 1 day ago. I'm excited about what Emanuele just shown us here, as opposed to being depressed, as what David said. Why am I excited? Well, I am an optimist. This is just the beginning. And I'm going to ask you one simple question for you to reason about. How many decades did it take email to reach what we have today? 41 years. That's why I'm excited. We are only getting started.
We'll see be around.
No, hang on.
Hopefully we do it quicker.
No, hang on. So back again to where I see the challenges that we have, I want to make a connection to what Dan mentioned this morning, which I still think 17 years later is the #1 business problem that we have today, no matter what people will tell you, which is employee disengagement. That's our #1 problem. And whoever doesn't tell you that it's a business problem, they have got the problem. Why? Because according to some of the data that Dan showed, according to some of the data that you mentioned as well, and I'm going to put this in very Christian words, 7 out of your 10 colleagues don't give a shit about what you do today. And that's a problem. And if we cannot fix that, we will never be able to transform businesses. And I do strongly believe, I believed it for 17 years, and I will believe it for another 50 years, that social will help us bring back the power to the employees to take ownership and responsibility for what they do. And here's the kicker, without management. Here you go. Oh, you got to... Sorry.
I can talk twice. Thank you. My name is Liew. I'm actually working in BSF. Now taking care of the platform in the sense of software. Basically, I am not an IT guy. Originally, I'm from research, actually doing polymer physics. 3 years ago, I decided that just doing creating knowledge is not enough. We need to share. And that's the point I turned over. And now I'm in corporate communications. It sounds crazy, but that's the case. Yeah, right. After Luis and Emmanuel and David's talk, I think I can't add more. It's just simply engagement is definitely the case. But I still think that we are very, very, like Luis said, early in the time. Although now Connect BSF is already running for 3.5 years, I still believe we have a lot more potential to go. And my answer to this is we trying not to talk too much about strategy when we do about strategy. And what we do is really one by one community by one community, one person by one person. That's how we drive. It will take time, but that's how we drive.
Thank you. Well, my name is Simon Levene. I'm a strategy consultant for Jive. A relatively recent strategy consultant. I joined just a few months ago, and I've spent most of my career, is this one not working? I spent most of my career actually implementing social systems, and I must say, I'm not depressed. I'm wired, I'm buzzing. One of the things I've found over the last 2 years working in my old organization, which is a large network professional services firm, 185,000 people, 150 plus countries around the world, I've seen transformation happen before my eyes in a way I've never seen before. And I was there at the beginning when we first put computers on people's desks. And I was there when we put email in place, and we've only just got rid of the partners in my old firm who got their secretaries to print off their email and they scribbled on it and gave it back. That's kind of past now. What I'm seeing now is a new way of leading. And one of the things we did in my old organization, a small company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, in that organization I was responsible for all of the knowledge sharing technologies across the world. And social was our one big thing we focused on back in about 2011. And we moved from a soft launch. Within 30 days, we exceeded 30,000, which was our original limit. I had the great job of going back to our leaders and asking for some more money, please, because we've so far exceeded your expectations. And we got enough money for 100,000 users. Within about 9 months, we exceeded that. So we're now up to about 130,000 users of 185 total population. And those are active users, fully engaged. In a new way to lead, we had, just to give you one of the success stories we kind of gathered, we used to have a global leadership meeting where all these leaders from the 150 firms around the world would get together and they'd go into a room and they'd close the doors. And if you were lucky, white smoke would come out the chimney at some point in the future. I know you have strategy leadership sessions like that. So 2012, I had the opportunity to go to that leadership meeting. I was the pleb level. And we made it different. We opened up the doors and we were there taking photographs and blogging and talking to the whole population of our firm about the strategy of the firm and actually including them. And when we got to the second day of the meeting, and the senior partner for the UK firm, guy I know quite well, he made me print off a sheet of paper that was a comment that came in from Toronto in Canada. And he stood on stage and read verbatim the comment that came in from a senior manager in Toronto. And that guy's comment changed the direction of the strategy of the firm. That showed that there was a new way to lead. And that's carried on. And that really excites me. It's transformation before your eyes. And it means I'm not depressed. I think we're on a great opportunity.
So, but we have to find those opportunities. We have to analyze and embrace those opportunities and then jump in there and position the potential of social as an enabling for transformation. Is that right?
Absolutely. And just to say one thing about this depression thing, we wouldn't have started our company focusing on this topic if we weren't optimistic about the future. And I think my message was really, we've got to learn from the past. And actually, I think that we're everybody in this room has the chance to help make the social business topic actually cross the chasm and start achieving its potential. And I believe in it passionately too. Otherwise, we wouldn't have started our thing. But I think it comes down to getting the message across. It comes down to yeah.
Go on. Just finish. And then
more than anything, we need case study stories like Joachim just gave us from Bosch, which actually translate into real hard business value facts to actually get the people at the top of the hierarchy excited about this.
But for me, these are only weak arguments. Okay. So it's really, so you all agree on there's a big potential. Yeah. At the moment, yes, the situation is not so good. We have to wait. No. At some time in the future, it will be happen.
No, we're not saying that we should wait.
So
actually,
what should we do?
Actually,
what do you want to do to take the action?
So here's the thing, right? So David is saying that we need to have, and probably we do have enough business case studies and everything else of how it happens. I, for one, would love to have.
But that's waiting and
no, hang on.
Case
Let me finish this, please. I, for one, would love to have more doing than talking. Yes. And doing means starting tomorrow, if not today. Yeah.
But
right?
What should be done?
Yeah.
What should be done? Go back again to the core nature of how work gets done, which is behavior. So I tweeted about this earlier on in terms of how we transition from a technology focus, where social business and enterprise entrepreneur were always seeing as a technology IT project. From there, it moved into tasks and activities, so processes, work, and from there, it's evolving into practices, into behaviors, into rituals. That's what we need to get into people's brains, that this is about not so much the technology focus or the process focus, this is about a philosophy, a way of living, a way of coming to work and say, I need to hide versus how can I help you today? To the other person who may even be a total stranger. That's what we need to come up with a different mentality into work.
You're not
and
selling
how
to
do we
the
do
business. You're not selling to the business.
What do you mean I'm not selling to the business?
With you, that's clear. We need to engage the people, make it meaningful for the people in terms of tasks, not in terms of processes. But first of all, we need to make it clear to the business where is the value. Because we have plenty of communities. I've seen projects with tens of communities, but the management is in a different era.
I tell you where it's clear the value. I tell you, hang on for a second. I tell you where is clearly the value. We've been in probably the worst financial crisis in our entire human history. Isn't that a problem? Yeah. For management to say, like, we fucked up for the last 50 years, we need to do something more productive? Seriously?
They don't believe social is the solution.
Management agree or recognize social as an enabling tool for
Not
more
yet.
engagement and to solve the problem of the financial crisis?
Yeah.
So, Jichin, you're in the communications department. So, are you enabled internally to transform the corporate culture?
I can only say that thanks to our recent interview, we actually had go through this case. I mean, we were in the financial. Actually, when we started our pilot project, it was 2009, the deepest financial crisis, and in our case, the top managers decided to choose our project to run and cancel the rest. We are the only project allowed to run. I mean, there is a recognition. It's just, okay, you can say.
What were the arguments that you brought?
Sorry, I'm not in that room.
Okay.
I don't know the argument, but I'm not in that room, but it was a boardroom decision.
Okay, so it was a top management decision to support this, and they realized this also as a strategic tool?
What do you talk in boardroom? I mean, besides strategy, in some sense. They have made the decisive choice. This is the project we are going to support. So they have made the decision. It's up to us, in some sense, to deliver. If you want to say it, deliver. But they also recognize it takes time.
So maybe at some point you have the decision, the top management decision, that you have a go for something. And what should you do then? Also, I disagree with you, Luis.
That's fine.
Not
good.
Sorry,
sorry. They have been very good, but not any company is at that point where the management just recognizes that this is the future of the business, this is how we can react to the crisis. And in my experience, you have to sell it in management terms, in leadership terms, in business terms, and after that, you have to make it happen, of course, in people terms. But before that, you have to explain how you can go to reduce costs, how you can go to be more innovative, how you can gain market traction, how you can shorten your development cycles, how can you improve the work of your sales force, and so on. This is what they want to hear. And this is not happening yet because we are talking about collaboration. We are not talking about the business benefits, the measurable business benefits. I don't believe you can do that all at once at the beginning. This is the business case because we don't know. It's about people. But we have to try more and now, today.
So hang on, he's attacking me, so I have got the right to attack back, eh? Go for it. So going back to your question as well, and also to answer to him. So how many of you folks in the audience have been involved with anything around social, say for over 6 years?
Wow.
Wow.
We
Wow.
are still there,
So let me ask you now, and think about this as well. We don't have probably the time for answers, but how many of you started off going to leadership versus going to your peers to start the movement? So you all went back to your management and say, I need to do this? And 6 years later, you're still here.
Yeah,
Pardon?
exactly.
No, I'm not saying that we don't have one way. I'm saying that to get started with the journey today...
It depends. It's related to the culture of the enterprise. Sometimes you go bottom up, sometimes you need sponsor before it and it make a lever. So you can have only one answer to your question, Louis.
No,
both of
hang
them
on.
at the same
The
time.
idea, but the thing is that what's happening there, if you look into companies who've been involved into the deployments beyond a 2 year, 3 years, so BASF will be one example, for instance, you will start noticing how management starts seeing themselves with social as a threat of their power. And that power is information. And as long as employees start realizing that management is the one that has got the power, the social thing will not evolve further. They are the barrier. Why do you think that we keep talking about middle managers being the barrier?
Because
That's
you
exactly
don't
the
have
same
to
argument.
Can I chip in a few things? One of the reasons my company is called Agile Elephant is because this is the elephant in the room, but it's also like the parable of the elephant and the blind man, where they all feel the elephant and see something different. Somebody sees a rope or a wall or whatever. This is a complex problem with lots of things associated with it. And it's very interesting that you asked the question, and most of the people that are in the room we're all believers. The majority of people in this room are believers in this thing. And I think it's up to us as a community to get out there and communicate it better to the average business person in the street, the average business, the average man or woman in a company who don't get this. We have to change this collectively as a group to get it across the chasm. And I think that what it absolutely comes back to is what Emanuela was saying there. It's much more about, obviously the culture change is important, and all of the elements of doing this is important, but we've got to bring it back to real hard business facts, the things that whatever the organisation is that we're talking about are all about. Why are they in business? And let's make that more effective using social.
Simon.
It's interesting. It's more depressing actually listening to the conversation in a way. Things are much more positive than we're making out. This is doable. I got the investment in social collaboration through a bunch of shiny-ass bookkeepers in the largest professional services firm in the world, and they jumped at it, and they took advantage of it. Now, in my world, I was responsible for all these knowledge-sharing tools, and I was told every day that I was wrong. I'm used to being told I'm wrong. I'm married, so it's kind of quite a normal feeling for me. But what we did differently was we embraced those people who told us we were wrong. We made them our advocates, and they became our best spokespeople. So we can do things like finding those people who are natural social collaborators and making them work for us. And we talk about culture. You look at the culture of your organization. If I looked at every one of you and said, right, in your organization, are you in an organization that has a knowledge-sharing culture? And you'll probably shake your head. And that's because we try and put a round peg in a square hole by saying, right, we'll give you tools that mean shove stuff in databases just in case it's needed. And that's not the culture of people. When I look at my old organizations and I look at my current clients, most of them are fantastic knowledge-sharing organizations if they put people and let those people talk to other people. And what these social collaboration tools do that we're making available, they fit that pervasive culture of our organizations. They let people network with other people, which is a very natural experience, and then they want to collaborate. And if we focus on that pervasive culture and stop talking about cultural change and start taking advantage of the great cultures within our organization, then we can be much more successful, and we can do it now. I started off talking about transformation before my eyes. That's not waiting. It happened last year and the year before, and it's building. It's a crescendo. So be positive. You can make these changes happen. You can implement these tools. A few techniques, very useful.
One quick sentence to answer your question in terms of how to go in. I would love to highlight Bosch example in terms of how you get started. It's all about use cases. If you come up with a list of top 10, 15 use cases of how people work, and you socialize them in terms of how people share their knowledge and how they collaborate, you have got very nice, lovely, long-hanging fruit opportunities for everyone to engage. And because they're use cases of how people work, it impacts their work directly, right? So it's an open window in terms of saying, you know, and I'll use one example, for instance, one use case that I always do is asking questions. We are always constantly asking questions. The difference between how we have done it in the past decades is we always knew where our experts were, which is why we send email to a certain group of people. Now, in the world of social networks, you no longer know where the experts are. You know that the knowledge is out there. So there is an opportunity where you break the silo and you go into openness and transparency and showing people how what you want to do is eventually you want to fix a problem, which is answer my question. So that would be one typical use case, right? So, and Joachim shared a number of different use cases of how they're doing it. So essentially they're going back to the employees and say, this is the what's in it for me. And interestingly enough, management is also part of that employee workforce. So they also have got their own use cases to adapt to. And once they start seeing, oh, I didn't know that this could work out that way. Now that you see that transition from management into leadership from that perspective.
But collecting use cases also means that in terms of the adoption strategy is like Chichinuri is saying, working one-on-one. So taking one group of people within the company and bringing them successfully on the new way of working with social tools, and then talking about this use case.
To me, this is not always the best case. I have an example. Number of use cases built with the employees and the management. Employees and the management. Innovation management was a key topic in the entire company. The R&D director wasn't at all interested in moving on with collaboration in R&D. So you have to bridge, you have to mediate. I agree, it should be meaningful for people, but it should be also meaningful for the management. And there are a number of cases and conditions where this is not possible at the beginning.
So listen, guys, this is an example. The manager, the director of R&D is not willing to innovate sharing ideas. What?
That's
excuse me?
That's the real world.
Yeah, I know. It's the real world that is going to tell you that you're dead in less than 3 years. Thank you very much.
They're doing well.
Okay, we have to...
Back to the one case of the example, and I want to pick up on what Simon said.
Simon has a comment, and then...
Champions, you know, ambassadors, champions, wild dogs, whatever term you want to use them. They are the force you need to mobilize to have your ideas ingrained in their ideas to help you change the organization. Without them, it won't happen. Okay. You can actually make it happen without management, but not without them.
Simon, for a last comment.
So a quick one. I agree with Lewis that the use cases can be key. If you've got 15 or 20, don't do them all at once. Pick the top 5. When you pick the top 5, pick some that go deep, some that are deep business value, but pick 1 or 2 that are broad, that bring people onto the system. And then have a roadmap for implementing those 15 or 20 use cases over a 3, 6, 9-month period so people see progression. And then when you pick those first use cases, pick ones that will show value very quickly. So I was given an example in the webinar the other day. Don't pick a use case of putting a man on the moon, because it might happen once every 20 years, so your return on investment, when you see the value, will be some way off in the future. So in those initial use cases, pick something that will be of value pretty quickly that's repeatable. So picking those use cases is key. Not too many at once. Pick things that have a high, quick return. Pick some that are broad, some that are deep.
Thank you.
Good practical advice.
Chichin, you have last comment?
just comment on how we pick. We don't really pick from our side. Actually, we ask the communities to pick themselves. So nominate, pick them by themselves. Actually, we learn a lot from them. Actually, as a community manager, I'm only facilitator. I'm only facilitating the cases and try to communicate. That's what.
Great last closing comment. Thank you all for this exciting panel. And we are now entering lunchtime, so we're 20.